This conference will now be recorded.
I'm sorry I forgot recording before, but anyway, I missed one question, so I can revise that. Okay, so here number of heads, you will write all 8 outcomes for S: head, 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 tail, head, tail, head, and then head, tail, head, tail, head, and then all 3 tails. Now, if you count the number of 0 heads, there is only 1. Count number of 1 head, there are 3, so 3 out of 8. If you count number of 2 heads, number of 2 heads are 3, so again 3 by tail, and 3 are only 1. This w is equal to 3, so 3 is only 1 by 8. So if you add all the probabilities, they should give you 1. You see, 3 plus 1 4 plus 4 8, so it should give you 1. Now for expected value of x, expected value of w, expected value of w is summation w and pw. If you just multiply your random variable with its probabilities and add, this gives you the mean expectation. So what you will do, you will make another column, you will multiply w with probabilities of w. So what is the first one? First one is 0. This is 0. The second is 3 by 8. Third is 6 by 8, because 3 2s are 6. Don't cancel, keep writing 8 in the denominator. It will be easy to add. 6 by 8 is 4 by 3 by 4, but don't write 3 by 4. So this is the, now if you add them, 6 plus 6 12 by 8, right? So this is the sum. So that is your, this is sum of WPW. So 12 by 8 is 1.5. 1.5. I don't know, it's not 1 by 5. How much is this? 3 by 2. 3 by 2 is 1.5. Yeah, 3 by 2 is 1.5. So this is the expectation, right? Now to get variance, I already have this. I calculated this. This is your mean. You can write mu square here as well if you want. But this is expectation of W square. Expectation of W square is whatever is given inside the expectation. Remember, whatever is given inside the expectation, you multiply that with the probability. You do not take the square of the probability. Just take the same thing, multiply by the probability. So whatever you have here, it just comes here and you multiply. So if you make another column and multiply W square W and take the sum, that will give this expectation. So this will be 3 by 8. This will be 12 by 8, because 2 square is 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 15, then 9. 15 plus 9 24 by 8. So this is 24 by 8. It will be 3, right? So that will be 3. Now just replace the values of these two here. Expected value of x is 3, and here expected value of x is 1.5. So you will get 1.5 whole square. Okay, this is the expectation of W square, and this is the square of the expectation. Always remember. Okay, so 1.5 square is 2.25. So 3 minus 1.5 square is 2.25. So it means 0.75 is my variance. 0.75 is my variance. If you take the square root of this, it will give you the standard deviation. If they ask you the standard deviation, you can take the square root of 0.75, gives you the standard deviation. Okay, someone said question 3 as well. Question 3 about conditional probability. So I did first problem for conditional probability, but anyway, it was not recorded. So I can again go through question 3. So it will help you in conditional probability. For married couples living in Al Ghuraimi, we are not talking about single people, only married people. So the probability that a husband will vote on some election, some shura election, is 0.21. You have some shura elections here, right, in Oman. So so if you have experience of voting, I don't know whether you have voted or not. So it's your, of course, decision whether you want to vote or not, right? So it's a very small probability here. Husband will vote on election is 0.21. Similarly, the probability of the wife that she will vote is 0.28. And the probability that both the husband and the wife will vote is 0.15. Okay, so these three probabilities are given. What is the probability that at least one member of the married couple will vote? So the first one uses addition law, not the conditional probability. You can call W for wife, right? You can use capital H for husband. You can call W for wife, right? Now this probability is for husband, probability of husband, right? Then this is probability of H. Probability of H means the husband will vote, right? This one is the probability of wife. So this is PW, that this is the probability that the wife will vote. Okay, only alone. And this is the probability that both will vote. Both means husband and wife. So what is the notation for that? For and we write intersection, right? Husband and wife both will vote is 0.15. So in question number A, probability of husband or wife is asked, at least one of them. Or what is the probability there? At least one member of the married couple will vote, either husband or wife or both, right? So you remember addition law. So there is an addition law of probability of H plus probability of wife and minus probability of both, right? So you can write PHPW minus probability of both. So you will add these two probabilities, subtract 0.15, you will get the answer. So this gives you the addition law. You can use addition law here. Second and third have conditional probabilities. A wife will vote given that her husband will vote. So what you will do in the second part, a wife will vote given that her husband will vote, right? So you can use the formula for the conditional probability, that probability of husband and wife, intersection, and wife means intersection, divided by probability of husband only, because whatever is down, that comes down here, probability of husband. Now these both probabilities are given. Husband and wife is also given, probability of husband is also given. So just divide 0.15 with 0.21, you get that. Got it? So I hope now you can complete it. You can try third one as well. I can leave one for you at least. Okay. So on these steps, you can easily find these three probabilities and any conditional probability problem now, right? You have to be careful in reading the question. Probability questions are very small questions. They take only 4 or 5 minutes to solve. But if you rush towards solving, if you do not read the question carefully and start solving, there is a great chance of making mistakes. So sometimes probability questions are a little tricky. So you have to spend time on reading and understanding them, because solving will not take any time. So put 5, 7, 8, 10 minutes maybe on understanding the question. Write the things which are given. Write the information which is given and clearly write the information which is asked. Then try to relate the question with the given quantities. Okay. Do not rush in solving these probability questions. So two questions I wrote for continuous random variables. Now continuous random variable, what is the difference between discrete and continuous? You see, whenever a discrete random variable, you can make a table. How you can make a table? Because your random variable takes on integer values, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. They can be 100 or 200,000, infinite many maybe, but they are integers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Discrete values. So we can always get the probability of each value of the random variable, and we can make a table which is called probability distribution. But in contrast, your continuous random variable do not have these type of values. Your continuous random variable takes the values in intervals, and you cannot list the values of continuous random variable. Continuous random variable, the values cannot be listed. So if you cannot list the values, how you can make table? Of course you cannot make table, right? And it means you cannot find the probability of each value as well. In fact, in continuous random variable, probability of one value is zero. Why? Because there are infinite many values of a continuous variable. So if you pick the probability of one number, it's zero because it's very small as compared to infinity. Okay, total number or infinity. So it means you are dividing something by infinity. If you divide any finite number by infinity, the answer is zero. That's why the probability of x equal to some number constant or c, whatever, it's always zero in continuous random variable. Always remember. Okay, that's why whenever we deal with continuous random variable, we ask you the probabilities in intervals. You see, the probabilities in intervals. And the probabilities are not given to you. A function is given which is not the probability function. It is called probability density function. Probability density function. Why? Because it gives you the probabilities. It gives you the probabilities. So if you remember the definition of probability density function, there are two properties. One property is that this is always positive. Your function is always positive. So in first question, you have to verify two properties. Here it said verify that fx is actually a probability density function. What does that mean? It means you have to prove the two properties that fx is positive. You see, x is greater than 0, so this x is positive clearly. 2 minus x is also positive. Why? Because x is less than 2. You see, x is less than 2, so 2 minus x is always positive. So clearly my function is positive. Your fx is positive for all values of x. Okay. Elsewhere means, what does this elsewhere means? Elsewhere means if you are not in these two intervals. If your x is between 0 and 1, use this. If x is between 1 and 2, use this. And if x is not in these two intervals, the answer is 0. So if you want to find f of 3, x equal to 3, f of 3 is 0. If you want to find f of minus 1, that is also 0. Why? Because they do not lie in these intervals. They are elsewhere. Okay, so what is the second property? This is the first property. Second property is you have to integrate it from minus infinity to infinity, your function, and prove that this is equal to 1. Okay, verify that if you integrate your function from minus infinity to infinity, your answer should be equal to 1. Area under the curve, area under the probability density function is always 1. Why? Because fx gives you the probabilities, so all the probabilities should sum up to 1. This is analogous to this property. The sum of all probabilities is 1. Sum of all probabilities. So this is basically the sum of all probabilities. If you integrate x from 0 to 1 plus 2 minus x from 1 to 2, you will see that the answer is 1. So these are the two properties. One is this is the first property, and this is the second property. Okay. For B part, we know that the probability of anything between in the interval, probability of the interval comes from integrating on the interval. You see, x is between 0 and 1. So what I will do, I will integrate from 0 to 1. What I will integrate? I will integrate my PDF, the probability density function. One PDF is a PDF file. This PDF is probability density function. Okay, so this will give you the probability, and this will not be equal to 1 because 1 will give you from 0 to 2. So if you are only integrating from 0 to 1, it will give you some answer. Between 0 to 1, your PDF is x. So this is x, right? This PDF is x. Now if you integrate, integral of x is x squared by 2. So if you replace the values 0 to 1, if you replace 1, it is 1 by 2, and if you replace 0, it is 0. So this is the probability. Probability of being between 0 and 1 is 1 by 2. Similarly, you can find this probability. What will be that? X greater than 1. X greater than 1 means you will go from 1 to infinity. 1 to infinity in general. But because after 2, there is no contribution, so we can stop at 2. Instead of going to infinity, we can stop at 2. Otherwise, this interval is from 1 to infinity. But why we are stopping at 2? Because till 2, I have some PDF. After 2, everything is 0, so no contribution from there. That's how you can find the probabilities of continuous random variables. Always in the intervals, not x equal to sum. If they ask you x equal to 1 or x equal to 2, simply write 0 as the answer, because in continuous random variable, probability of number is always 0. Okay. uh, if you want some discussion and variance, I can do that. You see, summation x fx, summation x px was the mean for discrete random variable, right? Mean, you can write mu or expectation of x, right? In continuous random variable, sum becomes the integral, and probability is not given, only function is given fx. So if I multiply my function fx with x and integrate from minus infinity to infinity, this gives you the mean. Only sum is replaced by the integration. Okay, so this gives you the expected value of x or the mean. Okay, expected value of x. Similarly, expected value of x square will be integral of x square of x. Whatever is here, you will multiply that with fx. So you will get this. Okay, so again, it is from minus infinity to infinity. So it depends on your data, because your data is from only 0 to 2. 0 to 1 x and 1 to 2 2 minus x. Other than that, it is 0. So it's automatically will change from 0 to 2. What you will do, you will not write infinity. You will say that, okay, I'm starting from 0 to 1, right? 0 to 1 is x into fx is also x. So x square, it will become x square dx. Then you will add from 1 to 2. From 1 to 2, your fx is 2 minus x. Okay, and dx. So this is your thing. You will not go beyond 2, because there is nothing beyond 2. Okay, so you got ex and ex square and variance. You know, variance is the same everywhere. Whether you're using continuous random variable or uh, discrete random variable, that formula is the same. Expected value of x square, which comes from this formula, and minus expected value of x, which is the mean basically, and whole square. So this will come here, you take the square, and this will go there. Okay, so this formula is unchanged, of course. If you are dealing with discrete distributions, you will find ex and ex square from discrete case. If you are dealing with continuous, you will use these formulas for ex and ex square. I hope this is clear. In this question number 7, distribution function is a new thing. Find the distribution function fx. And I wrote here, recall that your distribution function is probability of x less than this x. For example, if you want to find a distribution function at 2 or at 1, what does it mean? It means you need to find the probability of x less than 1. This is what we mean. Okay, this is what we mean. So it means I will start from my lower limit from minus infinity and will stop at 1, because this interval is from minus infinity to 1 and fx dx. So if you integrate fx dx from minus infinity to 1, you get this. So if I replace that 1 by number x, it means I am going till x, from minus infinity to x. It is not minus 1. Why I wrote minus 1? Because the lower limit was minus. This was the lower limit. That's why I wrote minus 1 here. So from minus 1 to x, and because x is in your limits, that's why I changed this variable to t. Because you remember uh, from mathematics, from calculus, when you have the limits of integration, then fx dx or ft dt or fz dz doesn't matter. We call them a dummy variable. The reason is when you integrate, you have to put the values b and a. So it doesn't matter if it is u or t or z or x. If it is t, this is t, it's the same thing. So just to avoid confusion, we use t here because we have to put the values of t is equal to x. So what will ft become? Ft become kt square. We will put x by t, kt square dt, and it will become kt cube by 3. Then you will put t is equal to x and t equal to minus 1. It will give you a function of x. That is a function of, okay. So you can find distribution function as well easily. Remember, when you write distribution function of x, you have to write all real numbers. You see here also given all real numbers. We say that elsewhere. It means if I am less than x negative 1, or if I am greater than x is equal to 3. For all these cases, my answer is 0. And between minus 1 and 3, kx square. So this function is written for all real numbers. We will write this for all real numbers as well. So I will start from minus 1. It means you have to do this. You will start with 0 when x is less than minus 1. Then when x is from minus 1 to 3, then this answer comes here. Okay, and when x is greater than 3, your distribution function becomes 1. Why 1? Because when you are greater than 3, all the probabilities are below that. If you take x greater than 3, let's say if I take fx as f of 3, f of 4, right? If I write f of 3, it means I need to consider all probabilities less than or equal to 3. I know that my whole interval is less than 3. Everything is less than 3. It means my answer will automatically be equal to 1, right? So you start, your less than first number is always 0, greater than last one is always 1. In the middle, you get this from the integration. Okay, so that is your distribution function. Now I hope this assignment is easy for you. I will if you want to post this lecture on YouTube or SharePoint as well on your Moodle, and I will post these annotations as well, these file with the changing. So I hope now this assignment will be easy.